A friend of mine gave me this T-shirt. Annoy the IRS, start a home-based business. Well, I don't think there's anything gained in annoying anybody, but as we've been discussing, there's some real advantages in starting a home-based business. But it's very important to make sure that it's not a hobby. You don't want to fall under the hobby laws. It was very important that I start a business that's a legitimate business. So what constitutes a business? Well, you have to have the intent to make a profit. You don't have to make a profit uh, necessarily. Certainly if you do, 3 out of 5 years is no issue. But any legitimate business is going to have some startup costs that won't carry into the years once things get rolling. And the IRS understands that. But what qualifies as a business is the intent to make a profit. Now, um, American Airlines, United Airlines, they haven't made a profit for 10 or 12 years. There are a lot of big businesses that haven't been making profits at all for quite a while. But they're still legitimate businesses because they're trying to make a profit. How do we prove to the IRS that we're intending to make a profit, that we're a legitimate business and we're sincere? Well, I was told that I needed to invest my money. I had to invest in my business, and I had to attend trainings and attend briefings, Super Saturdays, Manifest, the big international convention. That's the last part of March every year in Dallas, Texas. I had to buy the tools of the trade, the CDs, the DVDs, Success Tracker, the tear-off sheets of brochures. I had to study, and I had to study them. And I had to have them handy to give out to my prospects. I also learned that I had to invest my time. This couldn't be a haphazard thing. I had to give it some serious attention, serious investment of my time. Um, I had to work on my business as much as practicable every day, depending on my day job, my regular job. I would take the time maybe to send out letters, to write letters, to gather information together, to respond to email inquiries. I could join the Chamber of Commerce, the leads groups, and I could also join different clubs. In your local newspaper, you probably have a section, and ours is about 2 or 3 pages, of community events, upcoming community affairs and events. Now, a rock and roll concert or a movie or a theatrical performance wouldn't constitute a business because it's too noisy, too distracting. But you can pick up leads all over the place. You can get to know people and share what you have to offer. You might one evening attend the harmonica club, or the painters club, or the book club, and read. Maybe the stamp collectors club. And these things can be fun because you never know what new hobbies you might pick up and different interests that would be applicable. And so when you show up, you're new blood. They haven't had a guest for months, and here you are, and they welcome you warmly and sit you down and ask you questions, and what do you do? And it's a great way in a non-assertive, low-key fashion to get to know people and to get their names and their information and find out what their needs are. You know, the whole trick here is not to talk to people about Mantech, is to question them, to interview them, so to speak, to find out what needs they have that we might be able to meet. Because people don't care what you know till they know that you care. And if you jump right in with Mantech before you've identified all their needs, you might approach them in the wrong fashion, deal with things that don't apply, and give them the impression all you're caring about is selling you stuff, and you don't really care about them. So we personally have never had any success buying leads. Most of the time they're cold, or they've been called 5 times by people who were sold the same leads. we have never had any success leaving notes on telephone poles or under the windshield wipers of cars. It's really a person-to-person business. They want to look in your eyes and know that you're sincere. Generally, you'll set the pace, and they'll be as committed as you are. So there are ways of striking up a conversation and discovering their needs, and it could be as simple as the time you take filling up your car to gasoline and talking to your neighbor at his car. It could be standing in line at the grocery store, at the bank. There are lots of ways where you can get to know people if you'll invest some time in this, which is a requirement. And now, of course, you need, number 3, to be able to prove that you're doing business. You should have some entries in your day timer, your schedule book, or your calendar, and you should be saving all your receipts and keeping a track of your mileage in your wherever you wish to keep track of that. And now, when you get a receipt, let's say you take somebody to lunch at a restaurant and you want to talk to them about the opportunity, the benefits of Mannatech. You could, on the receipt, you'll have the name of the restaurant, you'll have the amount, you'll have the date. So all you have to do is write down the person's name and the business that you did. Maybe you talked to them about coming to Manifest. Maybe you talked to them about their downline. Maybe you gave them some coaching, or you worked with them in some training aspects on how to present the opportunity. Maybe you delivered products or delivered some samples or enrolled them, or whatever the case may be. So that's important too. And I have a box under my desk where I throw all my receipts. I'm not very fancy. At the end of the year, I sort through all my receipts and put them in categories in case I'm audited. And I also go through my check register and categorize the totals, and then I go through my credit card statements and do the same thing. And then in terms of different deductions, categories of deductions of business expenses, and then I do the same thing with my receipts that I wrote cash on, my cash payments. And so at the end, I can present to the people that do my tax return these totals. I hate tax. I don't want to do tax returns. I don't want to be a tax expert. Yeah, but this is what I've learned, and it's important for all of us to know what's possible, because it's kind of like going to your dentist. If he never told you to floss your teeth or to brush your teeth, he can only deal with what you give him, and that's not going to be too pretty. And it's the same thing with your accountant. He can't fabricate numbers. He can't come up with numbers that aren't legit. He can only deal with what you give him. But if we all learn what qualifies and what to keep track of, it can make a huge difference. Number 4, we need a business plan. We need to have some clear goals. And I was helped by my upline in terms of clarifying my dreams, my expectations, how fast I could probably realistically move in terms of building the business. So whoever's been more successful than you in Mannatech, go to them and say, help me put together a game plan that's realistic. You'll be starting out as a sole proprietor. That's what I was. Basically, that means I have a Schedule C, and the Schedule C is where I list my revenue, and then I list my business expenses to see if I have a profit or a loss, and then that carries on to our joint tax return. If it's a loss, it could affect my pre-tax income from my other job, lowering that to the extent where I drop into a lower tax bracket. And that of course, would be a wonderful thing, saving me more money. I realized that I could treat this as a big business or a small business. And if I treated it as a small business, it would always be a small business. If I treated it as a big business, it would blow my mind. And it has become a very big business all over the world. And so, if you don't treat it like a business at all, I mean, you can work it full-time or you can work it part-time, but you can't work it sometimes. And so I needed to get serious about this, and because I didn't want to lose these tax exemptions. I didn't want to be classified as a hobby. I wanted to be able to show that I had put in the time and the money, gotten the training, and that I was applying what I was learning, expecting to make a profit someday. And we are actually now, and most people do if they're serious about the business. We hope to get you in the position. I was hoping to get into the position where I'd be paying $1 million in taxes. That would be wonderful, because that means I'd be making a whole lot more than that. And so, check with your tax expert. I'm always saying, I'm not a tax expert. I don't want to be a tax expert, but if this kind of thing interests you, take the comments, the thoughts that perhaps I can share from what I've learned, and then bounce it off a tax expert and get their advice.